Hey everybody, One of Wisdom here. It is Friday night, Saturday morning, a little after midnight, classic time for me to be recording a video. Now, this is a special one. I had some plans. I thought about going back to the pool table, busting out the original 32. That would be a little bit more time consuming than this. My apologies on that front. Optimistic, some point, not too distant future, we'll get to head back to the pool table, but you probably have heard or seen some videos or thought about it yourself that it was recently the 10th anniversary of Skylanders, more particularly the launch of Skylanders Spyro's Adventure. Now, that's a big deal, not just because of the timeline. It's extremely hard to believe it's been 10 years. I guess the adage is true, time flies when you're having fun. But for those of you that may be new or checking back in, SSA is one of the key series that helped my channel back in the day. I was kind of the first non-insider, if you will, to record and upload gameplay and unboxings. Now, looking back at the time, I had seen a lone trailer for the game. Not sure, it's probably something on Twitter or like GameSpot was pretty big at the time, something like that. And quite frankly, I thought it looked really cool. I thought the gameplay looked neat, and just honestly, the innovative toys to life thing kind of drew me in. Not necessarily just me, but I was sitting there and I was thinking, hey, I think my nephew would really get into that, right? So I picked things up at launch, and just outside of there being like a specialist in Toys R Us, like somebody in a Skylanders t-shirt that sort of like told you about the game and, knew the ins and outs of the level they were kind of highlighting. It was not huge yet. This is not like latter launches where you had people like camping outside the stores and rushing in, anything like that. It's just kind of like, hey, there's this brand new thing we're trying that no one's ever done before. We're going to see how it goes. And so it was special, but at the same time, it wasn't like a super well-known special, if that makes any sense. So I remember running in Toys R Us with my mom, and each of us kind of picking out a couple of character packs and the adventure packs we thought my nephew would like. Meanwhile, at the time on YouTube, yours truly, I was over here getting close to wrapping up the original Wii Fit playthrough, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and jump in on this. I couldn't really wait. I was kind of, not going to lie, geeked out about it and wanted to try it out. And also, I sort of wanted to feel the game out before I invested more time and money on the figures for my nephew, because I wasn't sure, I wanted to be like, is this really fun? Is it cool? Is it gimmicky? And wanted to feel it out, essentially. So, long story short, and the reason this video was delayed until now, it's twofold really, but my first Skylanders video was uploaded on October 29th, 2011. Yeah, this is the 30th, but it's Saturday, so just roll with it. But I also waited, I'm not gonna lie, I was really hoping in my heart of hearts, an eternal optimism, that when they had the 10th anniversary deal, Toys for Bob, I was sort of hoping, they might like drop something, whether it's an HD remaster, a new game, a little side project add-on, but such was not the luck. So that was kind of a little disappointing, but you kind of roll with the punches at this point in time. But getting back to the script here, as I'd run my errands every week or every other week, I'd make a point to always stop and check out the figures. At this point, there really wasn't competition or scalping going on. As Christmas time approached, you started to see like, oh, this stuff's kind of not here anymore. Certain triple packs would be gone, but there wasn't like crazy. It was still kind of just an unknown at this point in time. Christmas is where things really ramped up. I, as somebody like just recently out of college at the time, wasn't really subjected to all the advertisements, but I can only assume Activision did a really hard-hitting job because there was a whole lot of interest in the game come Christmas time. So I'm assuming a lot of you have really cool commercials etched in your little memories, So as the franchise grew in popularity, more and more people discovered my channel. I've always felt and still maintain that I served a niche audience in the Skylanders community. There were a lot of channels that just kind of went over the top with special effects and add-ons and stupid stuff like that. I'm not going to candy coat it. Or just people that hopped on the bandwagon to try and get views, didn't really care about the game or the franchise. And I was just there, and I'm still here making this video because honestly, I just love the franchise. There's so many characters, and coupling that with each character having two distinct upgrade paths, it became a big interest of mine. Which path is better? That can be subjective based on your personal taste, but can also be quantified numerically with attack damage, hence Skylanders research, right? But does the harder hitting path always deserve the pick? Absolutely not. Where some characters can deliver massive damage, others can attack with a litany of small numbers. Ultimately, I always maintain the best path is really what you personally prefer, but I do like to think the videos are a great help in showcasing the pros and cons of each and helping you sort of feel things out before you commit to something. Have to reset your character and go back and get all the gold. So I tried to be really thorough in my playthrough, and that turned out to also help people as they tried to 100% the game, or wondering like where the soul gem was. I can't find it, blah blah blah. Also at the time, and then like later on, I had people like confide in me like, hey, I didn't know what I was doing. I watched your videos. This not being like, the little people, this is like big people, more subscriber than me people, so I guess you, the loyal viewers, can kind of take solace in that. There's some stuff here I could say that I probably won't. It's more of like a YouTube at the time rant type of a thing. But going back to kind of what I've always done, I've had a lot of you stick around as just straightforward tactical approach. I've still to this day, never clickbaited a video. You don't see like photoshopped thumbnails. I don't have misleading titles. And I say that in part to what I just glazed over there, right? But things got pretty vicious on YouTube. This was the era of like third parties. That's what people would try to do, is get a channel partnership. I stayed independent, right? I'm like the freedom eagle over here, and everyone else is the sellout crowd, I guess is one way to put it. And I just kind of always did my own thing. At E3s later on, instead of like trying to get things to scalp from special events, I was like just anyone I could question that knew anything about the game, whether they could tell me, I was going for it. And the forum people, Dark Spyro, sort of the hardcore players, that's kind of what I shot for, because it's what my videos and content seem to resonate with. So I did my best for you, just rest assured there. But it's kind of a segue there, because I sadly, and I still get asked this all the time, long before the 10th anniversary was on people's mind, and still afterwards, I get asked all the time, hey, whisper, you know anything about Skylanders 7? And the answer is sadly no, nothing I can tell you. If I could, I would. If there was a big reveal at the 10th anniversary stream, we probably would have seen it there, but I don't know. The channels, there's kind of like always a resurgence. This happens all the time. There's people that fade away, quit talking about Skylanders, new people come in, fill their shoes. For all the channels that continually make the clickbait videos about the next game and Skylanders 7, and you're never going to believe what I found, don't watch that stuff. This is the same as back in the day when you would get cross-promoted over. Don't reward the trolls, right? I promise you they're not going to know anything. If there's a big announcement, it's going to come from a select few channels, one of which will probably jump an embargo and release it trying to get views. And it's most likely to come direct from Toys for Bob and Activision. Okay, so as much as I hate to like crush hopes and dreams, there's not going to be like a channel with 9 videos that's going to drop a bombshell release, okay? It's not going to happen that way. So my advice to you would be to stay loyal to the channels that give you accurate, consistent information, don't fabricate things, and are there simply because they truly love the franchise and aren't trying to get views or grow a channel erroneously. That disgusted me 10 years ago. It still disgusts me today. But speaking of not changes, I haven't really changed that much either. A lot of you say my voice has changed. Has it? I don't know. I was using like the cheapest Logitech headset imaginable, and I've said this many times, I killed it in Wii Fit. And I just kept using it because I wasn't really making any money on this. I still don't, if you're curious. But yeah, it was the $9.99 Logitech headset, so maybe that has something to do with it. I don't really know. Let's see here. In terms of Skylanders, I still love the franchise, still love the characters. Personally, and I've said this for a long time, not just for nostalgic reasons or current event reasons, if this was the 10th anniversary of Imaginators, I'd still be over here saying SSA is my favorite. I still don't know why we don't have a standalone battle mode. I would literally, if we had standalone battle mode like I've described it in emphatic detail in the past, I would be uploading that to this day. I mean, it might not be a daily series, but it would be weekly, and it would have been content all this time. And I'm not stretching the truth there any bit. It's something I would literally upload all the time. Speaking of uploads, there was like a lot of collaborations, some of them big, some of them smaller. Apparently I was invited to a lot of those. I should just be straight up front with people. I get a lot of emails, like a lot, and 99.9% of them are junk and irrelevance, and that's like updating me on random Kickstarters for indie games that like are nothing I would even play or have an interest in, and you just kind of don't check your email, you know, after a while. So for everyone that invited me, remembered me, thought of me, had someone say, oh, we should include that guy, thank you. And I genuinely feel bad for missing that stuff. But like I said, you know, when you've had like a decade pass and it's kind of, you know, all irrelevant stuff, you know. So again, I do genuinely feel bad. I appreciate that you thought enough of me to include me, and I apologize for not being there. So that's kind of my bad, but it's also just there's a lot of junk mail. So going on what most of those type of videos hit on, I could answer a few questions. I'll kind of throw some stuff out here. Favorite Skylander? We don't have time. That's pretty much impossible for me to answer. I could literally make a year-long podcast about it, and that's also not an exaggeration. Why is SSA my favorite? And again, this is legitimate. This is genuine. This is not me saying this because it's the 10th anniversary. I'm not going to come next year with Giants and tell you it's my favorite. I'm consistent. I've been consistent. It's simple for me. It was first. I was there. I think that has a lot to do with it. It was my first experience. To see a toy in your hand come to life in a game was pretty freaking awesome, and quite honestly, it still is. But the first time I saw it was SSA, and that is what makes it special. Personally, I also loved the original 32 Skylanders. We had battle mode. We had some other modes in there I won't go into because we don't have time. But I also, and I'm probably in the minority here, I actually really liked the grind that was the heroic challenges. So, you know, that's just a little snippet there. I also enjoyed there were unique areas where you literally, a lot of people, you know, like if you came along later in the series, you think, okay, it's an elemental gate, I have to switch my character, or, ooh, magic Skylanders are stronger here. In SSA, there were literally areas where you had to use a water Skylander, you had to use a magic, you know, a fire Skylander to traverse the terrain. You had to be someone that could fly to go across the water if you didn't want to use, or you'd lost your water Skylanders. Might have been annoying to some people. I thought it was cool because it sort of tied you in with the Toys to Life concept, and you felt more connected to the game as like the portal master that was, you know, now a vital component of the team. You know, like drill sergeant's not going to be able to go from A to B. But, you can switch to a flying character and they can make it. You can switch to a water character and they can traverse. You could roll over to Eruptor and you can walk across the terrain that, you know, your tech guy can't. So little quirky things like that I personally really liked. I will also say SSA remains the most innocent game, and I'm not trying to be like overtly, you know, strange here. I simply mean that from the Skylanders hunting and collecting side. At this point in time, the game literally could have been a total bust. You know, like you can imagine the development team and Activision going back and forth, like how many characters do we do? 8, 16, 32, 64? How do we sell them? You know, maybe, who knows, maybe there's going to be double packs instead of triple packs, you know. Should there be special edition characters? What about chase variants? Everything was new and exciting. And most importantly, and quite honestly, there were fewer scalpers. You know, that and sort of like, you know, production runs and employees holding things back, that kind of like killed a lot of like the joy that was Skylander hunting in the early days. Because in SSA, people weren't like, oh, you know, this guy's silver instead of his usual color. That's strange. you know. So it's just, that's what I mean by the innocence of it. It was all new, it was all unknown, and looking back, it was very cool to be a part of it. So my favorite SSA find, the crazy thing here, this isn't really my find. My nephew, who was pretty young at the time, was in a small store in our town, and he found not one, but 2 silver dino rings. That meant he got to keep one, and they gave me the other one. I believe they gave it to me for a birthday gift. It was really hard for them to hold off doing so. But the fact that he is who spotted them, and my sister was able to snag both of them, was really cool, especially when I know the fate of Chase variants at my local stores later on in the franchise's history, meaning they never hit the shelves, right? You know, I knew they did this with like Johnny Lightnings and, you know, die-cast cars, but literally up here where I'm at, you know, if a store got a case and they had, you know, like a flocked Skylander or, you know, a Chase variant, it never hit the shelves. Outside of like Christmas time when they had seasonal help, you might get lucky, but regular employees, that stuff staying in the back, it's going on eBay. Me, a kid, another die-hard Portal Master, you're never going to see it. So SSA and the innocence of it all just made it that much better. In terms of SSA moments, outside of like the obvious stuff like experiencing it for the first time, things I've hit on, I kind of like the jump pads, you know. I do like having the character jump on their own, but the pads were cool too. As much as I hate to say it, the Weapon Master glitch is probably the most memorable. At the time, it really sucked. In fact, I'm still kind of ticked off about it. But that video, although a ton of you were like, oh, the same thing happened to me, or the same thing happened to my kids, this is devastating, I hope it stopped and saved a lot of you the grief of having to experience it. Like, I was, you know, pretty salty about it, but I mean, I can only imagine as a kid, like, I've worked so hard to get here, you know, we had to go buy these extra characters so I wouldn't die, and now I can't progress. So it's nothing against the dev team there, it's just one of those things, you know, it's like, it was there and it sticks with you. So, favorite thing about SSA, now this is interesting and this is where you will want to stick around because it may very well involve you. This is a complex answer because it sort of starts in SSA, but it continues through the rest of the series, and even still to this day when we haven't had a game in several years. I always make content on my own level, and I'll upload it, and whoever it appeals to, it appeals to. If you check my channel out, you'll find testament to that in what I upload. If you note, I don't exactly jump on bandwagons of games that are going to generate a ton of views or are insanely popular at the point in time. If I play something that becomes popular, there's a very, very high chance when I started uploading it, it was not popular. So one of the coolest things, though, is when one of you comes back to the channel, and you usually leave like a random comment on like a recent upload, and it's almost always along the lines of, wow, you're still uploading videos. That's awesome. Sentence 2, I used to watch your Skylanders videos every day after school. And then you come in and you hit with the, I'm a junior, or I'm a senior in high school, or I'm a sophomore in college, and just, you know, reminiscing. Just wanted to check in and say things. Those type of comments, you would be amazed how frequently those come up. Some of you actually go back to like the original videos you were probably watching back in the day. Some of you just go to like the most recent deal. A lot of times, you know, like YouTube just interjects one of my videos randomly in your timeline, and you're like, what? Why am I seeing that? You're like, one of Wisdom, and they're like, hey, I used to watch that guy. I didn't know he was still around. So that right there is pretty cool. I have to say it means a lot to me, and I'm glad to know I made an impact on so many of you. The crazy thing, like I said, I've never really left YouTube. I'm still here uploading. It's just I'm kind of like buried as a variety channel, and from the whole third-party, you know, cross-promotion thing back in the day. Again, because I remained independent and didn't sell my soul, so you don't always get rewarded for doing the right thing. But on the note of nostalgia, and this is something that a lot of you, you know, probably won't relate to, some of you might remember, but like in terms of like the people that make Skylanders content, a lot of them are, you know, younger. Granted, there are a lot of them now in college themselves. But this is something in my early days that I think is probably unique to me. Quite honestly, I don't say that arrogantly. I say that like this is just kind of going to be interesting to a lot of you. I cannot tell you how hard I tried to respond to comments back in the day. I'm not going to lie, it got super overwhelming. I think around Giants, I just kind of like had to give it up. I would basically leave work, record a video, have it editing, start it uploading because my internet sucked. It still does, by the way. And I could literally sit at my desk and not go to bed before I went to work in the morning, and I would not be caught up on comments. Sadly, YouTube, they like purge inactive accounts, and a lot of that stuff gets deleted. If you go back to my old videos, you'll see it says like at whatever username and its response, and you never see the original question. It's that type of stuff. I worked really hard. Like, I took it seriously. Like, I'm like, man, you know, these are people like relying on me on what character that they should go get with their $10. And, you know, for whatever reason, I took that personally as like a big obligation to you. And I would try to like sincerely answer both questions. I would have like discussion dialogues like, well, you know, if you're debating between Stump Smash and Flame Slinger, you know, what other characters do you have? And if you had, you know, like Bash and Drill Sergeant, I'd say, man, you should get Flame Slinger because he'll be fast and, you know, complement to your current art. Like, I personalized those responses, man. I worked really freaking hard at that. And it got to a point, like I said, I just couldn't justify it anymore. I was getting like 2-3 hours of sleep. The channel wasn't, you know, I was getting tons and tons and tons of views, but like I wasn't making anything. So it's like I'm sitting here doing this, I'm not getting to sleep or work out or, you know, mess around with cars or golf, and I'm helping people and enjoying it, but I'm also not like being financially compensated. And then you like go to work and you're really tired and you get yelled at. And it's finally I had to be like, okay, you know, like the YouTube thing, I'm not gonna be able to pay bills from that, so I sort of had to just kind of scale back. Also on that note, and I think a lot of you will appreciate this anecdote, I want to say that whether it worked out or not, I lobbied a ton of your parents. Like, they would contact me. You would say, hey, can you please tell my mom Ghost Roaster's not evil? I don't know how many people like did that, you know, through like SSA and Giants. At the time, YouTube had like a direct message feature that has like since been removed, but like you could literally like email a channel from the YouTube, you know, interface. If you create a channel to subscribe to, you know, other channels, to leave comments, whatever, you had the ability to message people. And I got a ton of messages. These were like from parents, you know, and grandparents and stuff. I got them on, I can't stand Facebook. I would get messages on Facebook, whatever they call themselves now. I don't know if I swayed any single parent. As many as I talked to, I had to have like convinced a few. I tried really, really hard to help you, help all of you get Ghost Roaster. Believe me, I did everything I could. Whether it worked out and you got him, or whether your parents just thought he was like the demon spawn of Satan, and you still never had him to this day, and you all regret it because you could have sold him on eBay or at a garage sale and paid for your college tuition. I just want you to know, the little guy here in Texas legitimately tried to help you have your parents get you Ghost Roaster. And so I've never really been credited for that. And like I said, I don't know that I converted anyone, but I want you to know I tried. I tried really hard. I spent a lot of my time conversing with parents through YouTube and Facebook messages to try and help you get Ghost Roaster. So that's just one of those things. Like I said, a lot of people from that era aren't going to have these like same experiences as me, and they're kind of bizarre, you know, looking back on it. You know, like the message threads I had with like strangers on the internet trying to have them purchase stuff for their kid. I don't know. It's crazy. But, it was a good crazy, but it was crazy, not gonna lie. Getting like a little more sentimental here. There's a few games I will always look back on fondly. For me as a kid, Super Mario World was like the cream of the crop. I did not have an SNES. I had to play that at friend. I just loved the game. And ironically, I never had a Super Nintendo, never owned the game myself until way later in life on the Wii. And I introduced that to my nephew. We had a great time. We beat it. Still, to this day, one of the greatest games of all time. Now, prior to that, like as a littler kid, like Gunslinger and Maze Craze, yes, we're talking Atari here. My sister and I, one Christmas, we were given the Nintendo Jumbo Pack, right? It had Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and World Class Track Meet with the Power Pad and the Blaster Zapper. And that's kind of, you know, like a staple. Obviously, like, better game in my opinion, Super Mario World, but that was the nostalgia there. Tecmo Basketball and Ice Hockey, those were big ones that stick with me. later on the SNES, me and a friend, there was a grocery store called Homeland in my area. They're gone now. But we would get NBA Jam, and we would get the #1 score, and there was like some other person in town. This is when you rented video games. Going back and playing that and like unthroning those people, getting our initials at the top. That was a big deal. I did have a Sega Genesis. I did not have a Super Nintendo, but I got a Sega, and I had a lot of good games there. You know, Sonic 2, 3, Sonic and Knuckles. I really enjoyed playing those. Past that, it got to a point where like, this is gonna sound super corny, like super corny, but you know, like getting to the point where you're like 13, 14, you know, getting more into cars. Whatever year it was, I was not driving yet, but when I got Midnight Club on PlayStation 2, like I thought I was the coolest person in the world, because I would like stay up, you know, and I'd like wait until it's like 11:50, and I'd fire up the PlayStation 2, throw in Midnight Club, and I'd do some illegal street racing. I just thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And past that, the Need for Speed Underground games of that era were fantastic. Between Sega and PS2, I sunk a ton of time. It's kind of like what my nephew's doing now. I played Madden 96 and Madden 03 for a long time. In fact, I showed my nephew my Madden 03 franchise deal. It's like in its 15th season. I played a lot of NBA Live. I can't remember if it was 95 or 96, whichever one had Mitch Richmond on the cover. And then past there, you know, it's kind of like you get inundated, you know, with like late high school, college stuff. And then it was the Wii stuff, you know, Wii Sports, Wii Fit, Mario Kart Wii. Absolutely love that game. It, to me, is on the same level, I should say, as like Super Mario World, just because that brought the whole family together. My nephew was like at the perfect age for it. I remember thinking how terrible the controls were when you used, like, you know, the Wii remote sideways, but you eventually adjust to it, you know. And you can tell, you know, just listening to me, probably, you know, like how happy I am talking about those games. And the reason I mention them is Skylanders is right there. There's not a ton of games on this list, but Skylanders is one of them, and it will always be on this list. I will always look back, just like I do Super Mario World, you know, Midnight Club at midnight, Mario Kart Wii, all that stuff. Skylanders is there, you know, whether people think it's a great game or a terrible game. For me personally, it's right there. It's on that list, and that's a very special list, you know. So it was a great game in my opinion, and it's innovative. It was innovative in 2011. It's hard to have a game be innovative anymore. So much has been done, and I mean, that was like innovative on multiple levels. It'll just always be a special game to me. Furthermore, I've always, and if you watch this channel, you know, I've been pushing for this for years. I pushed for this when it was getting taken away. I'm there on record in Santa Monica with the dev team and the higher up people saying, like, you can't do that. You got to keep battle mode. There needs to be standalone battle mode. All that time, I have still advocated for a standalone battle mode. I also, prior to Superchargers coming out, thought we needed a standalone kart racer. I would not have done it the way they did Superchargers. I won't go into much detail there. It would have been more Mario Kart-ish. I would probably still be playing that to this day, and not very often, probably like a once a month upload type of a deal. Most recently, if you follow me on Twitter with the 10th anniversary, I was pushing for a relaunch of Skylanders Spyro's Universe. A lot of you have no idea what I'm talking about. I sadly was not able to record PC gameplay at that point in time. But Skylanders Spyro's Universe was sort of like a companion to SSA that launched online. In my opinion, that was like just a few years ahead of time. And I say that not because it was like groundbreaking gameplay. It really wasn't. It was super cool. You'd basically go interact with other players, participate in mini games and challenges, earn coins, upgrade your personal Skylands, deck it out however you want to. They did seasonal stuff, you know, it's like you had Halloween stuff, you had Christmas things, you know, real simple. But so many people never got to experience that. I know it's something they could like relaunch and just throw out there, even if it's like a test run for a limited amount of time. I was trying to get, you know, on Twitter, I was like, hey, you know, how about we do this? And you could crowdfund it. Same thing with battle mode. I feel like it would be very easy for them to port what's in existence or to develop something real quick, update it over time, do seasonal events. And I honestly believe, you know, if it's like, oh, well, we can't really justify the cost, I guarantee you that would be crowdfunded Kickstarter, GoFundMe, whatever they're using, I promise you, there are enough people, particularly those of you that grew up with the game and now, you're establishing your career, you're in college. People would throw, $5 here adds up if you didn't know. And I think all of that could be crowdfunded. And like I said, if there's overage, put it to charity, put it to, to future projects, something. But I still, to this day, I advocate for those things. So I do what I can. The thing I liked the most about the 10th anniversary stuff from an official standpoint was hearing some of the guys at Toys for Bob. And I don't mean like the super high up people. I mean like the people that like they were interns and they probably just been hired, or they weren't like officially employed yet type of a deal. I feel like those are the people that were like super passionate about creating the Skylanders, developing the game. When you'd hear them talk about, what it meant to them to like walk in Toys R Us and see the launch day figures. Even some of them mentioned, like seeing people upload a game that they had just worked on, for the past 2 years, and see how they would go through the level, or if they would find things. Like when I was at E3, I'd turn and go down this path behind the fence, and it's like, you're the first person that's done that. So you can kind of imagine with the YouTube dynamic, you don't just get to hear like, you don't go to GameSpot and read a review where someone's like, oh, this is the best game ever, or someone else says it's the worst game ever. You as a developer or someone that worked on the game, whether it's, art, programming, animation, whatever, character design, to see people like play the game, like that's something as a player you don't really think of much, unless you're like into indie stuff, like Quasi and Shotgun Farmers, stuff like that. It's like very responsive to the community. But for like that big of a game, like a AAA release, it's a deal. They don't have to care, they're going to do their own thing. But to see the little guys there, that had put their heart and souls into this game, and then, to see them and their fond memories of it, and the fact that, they care about the community, they cared about the people making the videos, they took it to heart, they wanted to improve on it, they got ideas from it. They saw that like, okay, well, I probably hid this a little too good because no one's can find it. They took things from that. They don't have to watch those videos. They're probably doing that on their own time, but just to see the passion that they still have, talking about one of the probably first big projects they were on, that to me was just really, really cool. And I can tell like if those people were like the brass, or the higher, the in charge, or, not like confined, I think we would have had another game by now. I think it would be like, oh, hey, the community says they want a battle mode. Let's just do that. And hopefully, I think, just like I kind of sit here and advocate for all these things, I think there's a lot of employees there that are probably like, hey, we could do this. And whether or not it ever happens, I'm confident to know that like they're out there, they care about you, they care about me, and they're trying to do something for us Portal Masters. So that to me was really cool. SSA, whether it's your favorite, your least favorite, or you've never played it, which if you haven't, I encourage you to do so. It laid the foundation for the franchise. If you think Imaginators or Trap Team was the greatest ever, Swap Force, you cannot deny SSA was the foundation for everything that came after. In that regard, you've got to give it respect as an OG. I personally still remain optimistic we'll see the series continue at some point, but I also know it's going to continue to live on in the hearts and memories of Portal Masters everywhere. I personally encourage you to hang on to your Portals and your Skylanders and your game discs and all that stuff. Like I said, a lot of you are now late in high school, you're in college. A bunch of you are going to either be married and having your own kids, or you might already have, you're a senior in high school, maybe like your older sister, had kids, and you've got like a nephew now. Keep your Skylanders. You can be the cool aunt, you can be the cool uncle, you can be the cool parent. You can introduce a new generation to Skylanders. If you haven't noticed, what's old becomes new. You can see this in cars, like high school parking lots. Like right now, you see a lot of like 80s, 90s stuff because that's what the parents were into at the time. At work, when we hire people, like nobody knows who Tom Petty is anymore, and they listen to like weird 80s music. This is what their parents did. It's just one of those deals. It's like the ebb and flow of time. And hang on to your stuff. Maybe you had to sell a few, whatever, but keep some of them. Keep your favorites, keep the core characters. And at some point in time, pull them back out and you can relive it, with a niece, a nephew, kids of your own. And who knows, maybe spearhead, the next game, the next installment. I don't know if I'm going to like replay the game, try to have my nephew over some battle mode or what, but Skylanders is still very much a part of my life. And that's honestly the reason most of you are watching this today. So thank you for picking up the game, enjoying it enough to find me, and most importantly, for sticking around all this time. I sincerely appreciate it. All the old videos, they're still around, however buried they may be, however cross-promoted they might be, they're still here. If you want to go back, dip your toes in nostalgia, you're more than welcome to on my end. Like I said, they're still here, and I'll still be uploading stuff as well. So I hope you can all look back on SSA as fondly as I do, and whether you were my age, just a little kid, I'm glad I got to be a part of your life, and I can promise you if Skylanders 7 does drop, I hope to be here as the same trusted source for content and information again. If you ever see from me Skylanders 7 in the title, like, it's serious. It's not a nothing just thrown out there to get views or try to grow the channel. Like, it's going to be like, hey, I just got this email and I'm supposed to share this B-roll with you type of a deal. So other than that, I want to thank everybody involved in creating the game. And even the 3DS people, I still appreciate what y'all did. You brought extra joy to a lot of lives, and for that, on behalf of all Portal Masters, we will forever be grateful. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope someday we can head back to the pool table and unbox some new Skylanders. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Again, sorry this was late. I was waiting for possibly a big reveal, and then I wanted to kind of have this tie-in with like my official 10th anniversary with SSA. And like I say, I've always kind of done things on my own time, in my own way. But SSA, I will forever look back on the game fondly. I have great memories of it, with obviously, my own personal experiences, getting to, introduce my nephew to it. And then, of course, having the YouTube channel for reasons as bizarre as I said, like trying to get your parents to, okay, getting Ghost Roaster for you, things like that. Not everyone had those experiences, but I did, and as strange as they sound now thinking about it, it was a great time, I'm not gonna lie. So hopefully I helped some of you, land some characters. Like I said, I put a lot of time and effort into like trying to help you pick your next Skylander. It's a shame a lot of that stuff's been deleted. It would probably be hilarious to go back and like read the threads. But anyway, SSA is a fantastic game. Hard to believe it's the 10th anniversary. Opened a lot of doors, later on in the series for me. You got to remember, in SSA, I was not like an insider. I hadn't been contacted by Activision. This was just me dorkily going through life being like, man, this is cool. I think my nephew's going to like it too. And like I said, that innocence is really what kind of like makes it that much more memorable for me. So it's a fantastic game. I can't thank the dev teams enough for actually bringing it to life, going through with it. I can only imagine how crazy it was trying to pitch that and bring it to fruition. Whether they put a ton of overthought into it, whether they were just kind of winging it, I wouldn't change anything. It worked out perfectly. I've had a great time with it, still do. And obviously a lot of you do too. So with that said, again, big thanks for sticking around. I've had a great time with it. I sincerely hope we get a new game in the future. I won't go into a ton of details there, but like I said, standalone battle mode, relaunch of SSU, the crowdfunding. If anyone's watching and you want to make that a real thing, I will do everything I can to help support it. And I think it would be a great time for everybody. But I tell you this, I'll close on this, 10 years, time flies, especially when you're having fun. Enjoy it. Again, a lot of you, come back with the nostalgia, you're high school, college now, you're little kids back then. Time flies, man, so make the most of it, have fun, and with that, I will catch you back here for the next thrilling installments of whatever it is we'll be doing. Adios.